back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined in studio with Scott Spreitzer. This is the video you look for each week. It's the best bet video. This is part one. We're going to have a second best bet video later. But Scott, we're going to get to you. You had a best bet last week on the show. You cashed it with Central Michigan. And actually, you didn't need the points. There was a bunch of points there, and you didn't need it. Referees might have made a little mistake at the end of the game there, but I'm sure we'll talk about that. But tell us about your best bet this week.
Yeah, I'm kind of using them again in a sense. I'm going the other way. I had both of the teams involved in the game that I'm using for my best bet last week. We had Central Michigan, as you mentioned. Shouldn't have won the game outright. They got a break from the officials. They admitted that they were wrong afterwards, but they never were in doubt as far as covering the spread. That makes 2 years in a row now that they have not been even close to being, far from the spread as far as the games with Oklahoma State are concerned. And I also used UNLV, who's playing Central Michigan this week. I used them against UCLA. And the funny thing about that is my line against UCLA for the Rebels was about where it was, 28, 27 and a half in that neighborhood. 27 is, I think, what we got it at. But I just thought there's no way UCLA is going to have motivation to win this game by 4 or 5 touchdowns coming off the big overtime loss that they suffered the previous week against Texas A&M on the road, and bigger fish to fry for them. You remember the final score last year, they wiped out UNLV. Although it wasn't as bad, UNLV lost their quarterback in that game the previous year, so we jumped on UNLV last week. We jumped on Central Mich last week. This week, we're on UNLV plus the points over Central Michigan, and as we speak, it's around 13. But again, this is a situation where now you got Central Michigan coming off one of the program's biggest wins ever. They did it on the road. I love Cooper Rush. I love the offense for Central Michigan. But again, it's tough to get motivated for this particular game. And when you look at UNLV, Tony Sanchez, the second-year head coach, this guy's a winner. He is slowly but surely, maybe a little quicker than slowly, but surely turning around this losing culture and make it a culture of, if we go out there and play our butts off, we're going to win a few games. We might get to a bowl game. And the bottom line is that they never quit playing. That game last week against UCLA, they covered the spread. They lost 42-21. That's a 28-21 football game early in the fourth quarter. It's not a team that's going to go away. They got Nebraska transfer Johnny Stanton at quarterback, good in the trenches, for the most part for their level of football. They play hard from start to finish, and they're going to give Central Michigan their all from start to finish. So I think it's going to be a much tighter game than that 13-point spread indicates, and my best bet this week is going to be UNLV plus 13.
Hey, we can't argue with you when you gave us that best bet on the big dog last week. Hey, you had a good week last week. Again, you've been killing it at Wager Talk. What do you got going this week?
This week what we got going is our first 5% main event game of the month of the season. We only released 7 all of last year. We went 6-1. 86% at Wager Talk. We've even in the last 20 years, we've had a couple of undefeated seasons. Usually we give out about 9 to 11 per season is what we come up with. Last week, 7. This week we've got 1, and it's going to be posted by Thursday at the latest on Wager Talk. And we look to keep that run going. 6-1 last year. We'll look to make it 7-1 since we've been at Wager Talk. Last week we ended up with another winning week in college football. No 5% in college last week, Marco, but we did have the 5% on Sunday in the NFL and swept the NFL at Wager Talk, including that 5%. So turning those big plays over to college for this week's card, we really like it. Your best bet won last week. Yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars. That line came way down on Sunday, game day, but during the week it was generally 5, 5.5. Matt Holt told us as soon as they would go to 6, it would be bought right back down. But you cashed with Jacksonville. 3 young quarterbacks made their waves, man, and they got their feet wet in a winning way last week in the NFL, but I know you're going against one of them this week.
Yeah, I tell you, I actually looked at going against a couple of them because I just don't like the situations. But, man, the knee-jerk reaction here is going to be for the public to jump on Denver, laying less than a touchdown. Trevor Siemian, made his debut, and you got to think about it. Look at this scene that they had. It was a Thursday night game. It was the Super Bowl rematch, and you're starting a new era where, Peyton Manning's gone. You got a guy making his first start, and he didn't, he made a couple mistakes, completed 69% of his passes, but they were dink and dunks. He didn't really go downfield. It just looked like a healthy Peyton Manning, from last year because they didn't stretch the field. I just can't see the Denver team to have the same intensity this week. They got to win, and I know everybody's going to look at it, and we had Tony Miller on earlier. I can pretty much guarantee they're going to get hit hard on teasers this week with Denver, teasing them down just having to win the game. That's the way the average guy's going to look at that. I think Indianapolis can go in there and get the job done. Last week, Andrew Luck, first game back, he was, injured last year. He showed no signs of rust at all. He threw it all over the field last week, 385 yards passing, 31 of 47. Now, granted, the Lions' defense is not Denver's. I get that. But still, they're able to move the football. And if you're Denver, we always talk about, emotion and setting up games and situations. How could they possibly come into this Sunday with the same intensity level that they had for that national spotlight game? Because everybody, Carolina was chirping. They were lucky to win the Super Bowl, and, Peyton Manning didn't do anything. You had an unknown factor at quarterback. I just don't see them with the same intensity. And I'm going to grab the 6 points with Indianapolis. I think it's a spot where they could go in there and pull off the upset. Some numbers on Andrew Luck. As an underdog of 7 points or less, 10-3 against the spread, and the Colts, since Andrew Luck's become quarterback, off of a loss. And this is a team that doesn't seem to put together a lot of, string of wins and that. But when they are coming off the loss, they are 16-4 against the spread in the next one with Andrew Luck. I'm going to go ahead and take Indianapolis plus the points as my best bet. And this week I got a 5% as well at WagerTalk. It's in college football. We had a nice 5-2 week last week. Going back to last season, we're on a 33-13 run. We did lose the Monday night game with our football, so I'm looking forward to this weekend. And we're going to give the listeners a $10 coupon this week, Scott. You had Tony Miller on from the Golden Nugget. In his honor, we're going to make the coupon Nugget 10. Just put Nugget in the number 10 in at checkout, and you'll get $10 off your package this week. Anything at WagerTalk. It's a great way to save yourself $10 and use it on one of those weekend all-access packages. Bring that cost down to just $59. You can get complete coverage Thursday through Monday, all plays, and that includes those big 5% plays that sell for $30 by themselves. So check out a weekend all-access. It's the best deal on the site. We'll be back with more here at WagerTalk.com.
Good stuff.